Hi, my name is Amy Sjoblad. I'm a Career Advisor Supervisor with Rural Minnesota CEP and a member of the Bridges Speakers Bureau. Today in our session, we are going to learn about tools that can help you identify your strengths and your aptitudes. And we'll talk about why that is so very important in answering that big question of what do you want to do after high school. Our agenda today is as follows. First, we will review all of the many opportunities that are available to you after high school. Second, we will take a deep dive into identifying your interests and values. Our third agenda item is to talk about tools that will help you identify your aptitudes and skills. And last, we will talk about action steps that will help you get closer to that big question of what do you want to do after high school. Now, let's talk about the opportunities that await you after high school. And as we talk about these, I really want you to open your mind to these opportunities. There's no right or wrong answer as long as you're choosing an option that really is a good fit with your interests and your skills and aptitudes. So first, you could start your career right after high school graduation by applying at a company that has growth opportunities, again, that utilizes your strengths and interests. You could apply for an apprenticeship. This is an opportunity where you earn where you learn. So you would apply for an apprenticeship just like you would apply for a job. You would then be hired and you would learn while you earn. So there's no college debt in this situation, still education while you're earning a paycheck. Another option is to join the military, which has tremendous benefits for you. They will also work with you to help find a career for you while you are serving in the military. If you're unsure of what you want to do, or maybe you're considering a gap year, a great option is to join the AmeriCorps or the Peace Corps. This would involve providing community service for a defined amount of time. You would receive free lodging, free meals as well during this time, and once you've completed the term, you would then receive either a stipend or a Pell Grant to further your education. Of course, the next option is to attend post-secondary education. This could mean anything from a 3-month diploma or certificate to a 2-year associate degree at a technical and community college, a 4-year bachelor's degree at a public or private college, or even a master's or doctorate degree. So as we discuss finding a career that's a good fit for you, again, I just ask that you keep your mind open to all of these opportunities. Now, let's take a comprehensive dive into your interests. I'd like each of you to go to the first question of your handout and answer the following questions. Now, we're not going to have a lot of time to answer completely. What I'm really hoping is that you can provide at least one answer to each question. So number 1, I'd like you to write down, what do you do in your free time? And I'm really looking for activities here where you lose track of time. That activity that you thought you were only spending 30 minutes on turns up to be 2 to 3 hours. That is a very good indication that you enjoy that activity. What TV shows do you enjoy? What magazines or books are of interest? And if nothing comes to mind, I want you to think about if you were to read a magazine, what would that topic be? What classes do you like and excel in? What clubs, activities, athletics, or volunteer opportunities are you involved in? What role do you typically find yourself within your circle of friends or within your family? And this might reveal that you like to take care of others. Or with your friends, you might be that person that likes to plan events. This is good information to learn about yourself. Who are your role models and what do you admire about them? And last, what's your favorite quote or saying? Now you might think some of these questions are odd, but they can really reveal what your values are as well as your interests. So later what I'm going to have you do is look at these answers and look for patterns. It can be really a great start and one of the factors in that equation of determining the right career for you. Now let's talk about your skills or aptitudes. And I find with my students, this might be the harder question to answer. When I ask, what are your interests? Usually some quick answers come to mind, but what are you good at? And even in my interviews, when I'm interviewing for career advisors, I find that when I ask that question, tell me what your main strengths are. Even adults struggle with that. So let's talk about your aptitudes. The first thing I want to do with aptitudes is define what we mean by that. What does that mean? So let's do an exercise. We will now go to question number 2 on your handout. What I want you to do first of all is to write your first and last name in your dominant hand. Now, what does that feel like? That feels natural. You've probably mastered it. It feels good. The next thing I want you to do is write your first and last name with your non-dominant hand. And I want you to think about how that feels. Imagine if you were in a job and you had to use your non-dominant hand all day in that job. What would that feel like? That would be like having a job that is not a good match with your skills. It would feel unnatural, probably pretty hard, frustrating, probably wouldn't have a quality product if your signature's like mine, and tiring. What that would mean is you likely would end up dread going to work every day. And life is too short for that. We don't want that for you. So how do we find out what your aptitudes are? I'm going to go over 2 tools that all of you have access to free of charge. The first option is to take an assessment called youscience. youscience is an online core assessment. It includes 11 exercises that take about 8 to 10 minutes each. So we're talking a total investment of about 1.5 to 2 hours. Why would you do that? Well, I will tell you why, because the results are very comprehensive, amazing. This is an assessment that allows you not only to review your interests, but again, to hone in on those aptitudes, which are so important to get that job that you feel fulfilled in, that you enjoy, that you don't dread going to every day. So here's what you will learn about yourself by taking this 1.5 to 2 hour assessment. You will receive a guide called the Strengths Profile and a discussion guide. It will list all of your top skills. What are those aptitudes, those things that you're really good at? Next, it will list your top 3 Holland personality codes. Maybe you're familiar with this through the Interest Profiler that you took in MCIS at school. It's the assessment that shows if your personality code is social, conventional, investigative, realistic, artistic, or entrepreneurial. And this is a really great thing to learn. It's one piece of the puzzle, again, in identifying a great career for you. The youscience results will also show careers that are a great match for you. In fact, you will log back into the platform once you have your results, and it will have a listing of all the careers that are good fits, not only for your interests, but also your aptitudes. Studies have shown that if you combine interests and aptitudes, your options for careers are widened versus if you're only looking at your interests. You will also receive from these results terms and statements that will describe you. These are terms that could be used in your resume, when applying for a job, an employment application, or for those of you who are going to college, could be very helpful in your college and scholarship applications. My students who've taken this assessment have learned so much. The feedback that I've heard from students is, wow, I didn't even think of some of these careers that are good fits with my skills and interests. So how do you get access to this youscience assessment? Talk to your school counselor or your career advisor. Now, if your school doesn't have access to youscience, you can contact me, and that information is on your handout, or any career force location, which was formerly considered the Workforce Center. You will simply receive a code to take the assessment online. 12 hours after you complete that assessment, you will have these results and learn so much more about yourself. Now, another option that takes less time, again, to learn what your skills are, is an exercise called the Skills Matcher on Career One Stop. And this information also is in your handout. Either one of these options is definitely worth your time to identify the things that you're good at. So last, I'd like to talk about what do we do from here? So we've learned about how to take a deep dive into your interests and your values and your personality. We've also talked about how to identify your aptitudes, your skills, what you're good at. So what I'd like you to do is go to question 1 of your handout. And I want you to further answer those questions, and I want you to look for patterns. And most of my students who've done this exercise do find some common patterns that reveal not only their interests, but their values. I challenge you to take that to your parents, to your friends. If you're having a hard time identifying those patterns, I bet they will. Next, I encourage you to meet with your school counselor or your career advisor, and challenge you again to bring this handout and show that to your career advisor or school counselor. Next, complete the youscience assessment or skills matcher. And for the teachers that are watching, youscience has lesson plans and a workbook that's called Turning I Don't Know into Wow I Can, which can be a great resource to use in your classroom. Next, research careers. There are so many great websites out there. I highly recommend bridgesconnection.org. They have some career videos that really give you a dive into what does that career look like. Ask professionals about their jobs. Ask your parents, your friends' parents, your family members, neighbors. Ask them, what do you like about your job? Why did you decide to go into that job? What are some things you don't like about that job? That can really give some first-hand information about if that would be a career that you would enjoy and find fulfilling. And last, I recommend getting first-hand experience of careers. And what I mean by that is attending a job shadow, conducting an informational interview with a professional, going to a career fair or a business tour. All of those things can really give you a first-hand glimpse of what it's like to work in that career. How do you do that? I recommend talking to your school counselor, teacher, or career advisor, and they can arrange those opportunities for you. And last, I recommend that you review the handout. As I mentioned earlier, there are additional resources listed there that can really be of benefit to you. So now I will conclude with a quote from Steve Jobs, who's the founder of Apple, who very eloquently conveys and illustrates why it is so important to find a career that matches your skills, your interests, your personality code. The quote is as follows: "Your work is going to fill a large part of your life, and the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work. And the only way to do great work is to love what you do." I'd like to thank you for your time today. I also invite you to please contact me for further information or visit our website at rmcep.com for additional information.
To learn more, visit bridgesconnection.org/speakers.